Dispatch units respond for a simulated Alert 3 on runway 18 center near Delta 11 for a 737 has landed short and slid onto the runway.
We conduct these disaster drills every 3 years for a couple of different reasons. So we do it for an FAA requirement, we do it for operational readiness of our crews, of our internal departments, and then we do it to assess our response plans we've developed.
What it takes is putting our plan and actually putting it into place with what we call a full-scale drill.
This is the tower of simulated Alert 3, runway 18 center.
Today's scenario was an aircraft carrying 150 passengers and crew that landed short of one of our runways and skidded onto the runway itself, breaking off one of the engines and causing a large fire.
Unknown souls on board, unknown fuel.
We send out what's called a Signal 500 as an automatic mutual aid response that brings us as much as 82 ambulances from 3 different states of Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky.
Our Airport Operations Center is a regular 911 center like you'd see in any county, but the most important for this event is answering what we call our crash phone, and that is a direct link between the air traffic control tower and our AOC. When the air traffic control tower picks up that phone, it will immediately ring in the AOC so they can provide the information about the incident, and then they will dispatch that out to our airport fire, police, airport operations, and airport maintenance groups.
First priority we arrived on scene today, it was a simulated fire, so the first priority is to put the fire out, protect the people that are exiting the aircraft, and following that it was to triage the amount of victims that we had around the plane so we could get them to emergency medical care as quickly as possible.
Well, the critical role of the police department, number one, is always life safety. Same as with our firefighters and other emergency responders. After life safety, in an incident such as this, it would be perimeter security, setting up a perimeter around the scene to make sure that everybody is safe and secure, and nobody goes in or out.
At the scene of the emergency itself, we have command, which will be running the entire incident that's in front of them with all the responding units that come with them, plus the mutual aid that's coming behind them.
My job as an incident commander is the 30,000-foot view over the scene to make sure all the different personnel work together, get our objective done of life safety, fire control, and to get people rescued and out of the airport in a critical time.
Next to command, we will have a casualty collection point, which is where we would initially gather the patients. Once we get away from the actual scene itself, we have what's called the T3 area, which is triage, treatment, and transport. That is brought out by our maintenance personnel. We have a large red tractor trailer that comes out, has a very wide variety of equipment that we can set up.
The maintenance group is really responsible for providing support from the scene. If they need, transportation, they need infrastructure, utilities, stuff like that, we're there to support that.
Our triage system is a 4-color system that will determine the severity of the patient's injuries. Green being the least serious, moving on to yellow, which is a little bit more serious, and then red, which are the critical patients that need to be treated first. If we do have deceased patients, we would not move them. They would stay on scene until the coroners could do their job. Their responsibility is to identify and collect the deceased victims, get DNA tests done, and then get them transported to Frankfurt for autopsy so that we can determine who these people actually were. Staging is a little bit farther away. That's where we would bring all of our mutual aid units in, ambulances, engines, rescue trucks, other fire chiefs, EMA. They would all go there first, and we would release them 1 or 2 at a time so that we don't overwhelm the scene. Even farther away from that, we have our EOC. Our EOC is the Emergency Operations Center. That's a little higher level control of the scene. They'll be supporting the emergency workers on the scene. So if we need water, we need food, we need portable restrooms, anything like that, we would go through the EOC and they would get that to us. They would also have the job of getting the airport back up and running.
Our airport operations group put out information to all pilots, not just locally, but airline dispatch centers and pilots across the country that let them know there's an incident happening at CVG.
Important part of the EOC is actually the liaison with the crisis communications team.
The crisis communications team is tasked with gathering information and communicating it to the various stakeholders, including the public, media, our employees, our board, government officials, the list goes on. Another critical piece is coordinating with other stakeholders like the airline or the NTSB, because they will be communicating and taking over part of the incident as the investigation goes on.
We're gathering information about the passengers.
Another department that is critical is customer experience, because they are the ones to work with the families and friends of those who are on board. The reunification process and assisting those families is another piece that we as an airport, we begin that process, but then the airline comes and kind of takes that over.
This drill we brought in air medical, we actually brought in air care and air evac. Our plan for air medical is air care would actually bring in doctors and equipment from University Hospital. They would most likely be the first doctors on scene. Air evac and other air medical that would come in for an actual emergency would be used to transport patients that are at such a high level of criticality that we don't want to overwhelm the local hospitals with, so we would fly them to Dayton, Indianapolis, Louisville, or Lexington.
After all life safety is taken care of, now it's a crime scene. It gets turned over to us, and then we provide that security until our federal partners get there to do their investigation.
The last actual full-scale exercise that we did was in 2017. What we learned from that we incorporated into this drill was a lot of the routing, how we get ambulances from our scene to the correct hospital. But we realized that only having one person control that wasn't really the best way to do it. So we added a second person. The addition of that second person in this drill really sped things up, got things moving, and it really helped with the communication and tracking. We were able to account for all 85 patients that we actually sent out to hospitals.
Today's drill is made possible by all of our exercise planning committee that helped design and develop the exercise, all of our mutual aid partners that were here and responded today, and all of our internal departments in collaboration together.
Actors in full makeup, it just brings a realism to this incident. This is the closest thing we can have to it, so that our personnel can start to experience some of the things that they may have to experience if this does happen. It's invaluable to our personnel.
Being able to use a plan that's written in paper and actually put it to use, I believe, was the most effective part of this drill today.
And I think we made some really good changes as far as how we do some communication, but also how we report to each other.
Showed how well trained we are, how well we work with our outside partners, how many people that it will actually take to accomplish this. When you actually see them here, actually working, you realize how massive an operation this really is.